All right, the stone is set. The die is cast. Um, Sirianni has made his decision. He is going to rest the starters, Saquon Barkley included. So the chase for the number one rusher in regular season is at its end. And Saquon had a valiant effort. And the one thing that's frustrating to me, and I'm saying this as a former running back, I go back and look at some of the games that we kind of didn't give him the ball enough. You know what I mean? So I'm going back and I'm looking at the games. I'm looking at that first Cowboys game in week 10. I think it was. We won 34-6. He had 14 carries for 66 yards. And I'm wondering if I go back to that game, how many times did they try to run the damn ball up inside? Did they get him outside? That's been a big thing with me all year, getting him outside so he doesn't have to bounce it. Just pitch him the ball outside and let him race folks to the corner. I will stand on that. In my opinion, he probably could have had 200-300 more yards if we would have bounced him or pitched him outside a little bit more often. But that's my nitpick. But I'm looking at the games. I'm looking at the Cowboy games. I'm looking at the Browns game, 18 carries. Anytime he had less than 20 carries, it's a travesty. 10 carries for 84 yards against the Buccaneers. And I know they got pass happy at the end, but at that point, that was just a bad game for us. The Saints game, he had 17 for 147, so he put it down there. But in my opinion, Saquon Barkley should never have less than 20 carries. Never. So unless he just goes off like situation like the first Giants game, 17 for 176. Looking back on it, maybe he should have stayed in the game and got 50 more. You know what I mean? Because those opportunities always come in. And I know he's humble and he wasn't trying to rub it in their faces, but that's the time to do it in the flow of the game. I mean, think about it like this now. If he plays the whole fourth quarter, if he plays that entire game, he's got the record. He's got the record. If he plays that entire game, that fourth quarter, let's say he gets 200 yards. And instead of, the first game against the Cowboys, he only has 66 yards. What happens if he gets 6 more carries? And they get him 20 carries in that game. So we can woulda, shoulda, coulda all through the season. But there were little opportunities through all of the games, man, where you stick it in there and you let him continue to carry the ball and you let him do his thing, man. And he should have broken that record in probably 15 games. But again, woulda, coulda, shoulda, don't do nothing to rhyme. And this is the hand we've been dealt. So, the decision by Sirianni to sit the starters, I think, is the right one. As a running back, I wanted to see him break the record. Don't get it twisted. I wanted to see him break that record. But at least I'm smart enough to look at the big picture. And I know how people do in games like this. You ain't got nothing to lose. Giants ain't got nothing to lose. They know they're not going to the playoffs. And that's when crazy things happen. I've mentioned this before. Y'all don't have any idea some of the shit that goes on at the bottom of tackles. At the bottom of that pile and you were running back. Not to mention, you selling out. I can imagine the Giants trot out there and they're going to put 12 men in the box. So they would say to the Eagles, I'm going to let Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee, y'all going to beat me in the air, but you damn sure ain't running on me. So they would probably make it difficult for Saquon to run. Now, if it was a regular old game plan, but there's always a little extra umph in there, especially when you that other team. You ain't getting that record on us. So there's going to be a little bit of extra gravy on that tackle. There's going to be a little extra sauce in there when they're trying to drag you to the ground. And that's when things happen. That's when things happen. You get nicked up, banged up, rolled up on, ankle sprain, twisted. Somebody fell on your thing. I saw the college game the other day where the kid just outright came up and stepped on the kid's foot, turned his ankle. Do I think stuff like that happens in the NFL? Abso-freaking-lutely. So I don't mind them protecting Saquon and the rest of the starters. That's the other thing that people tend to forget about. If Saquon plays, everybody plays. I want to see Jalen in there, all the offensive linemen. Jurgens, LJ, everybody starting. So if one has to go, they all have to go. You can't piecemeal it. If you're going to do it full tilt. That means everybody got to play. That means you have more of your starters at risk for injury. We have not had one game this year where somebody didn't get banged up, didn't get nicked up, something. You saw the other day, like when we played, was that the Cowboys when they pushed Devontae Smith down and he comes up holding his wrist. Silly stuff like that. Little things turn into big things. So the best thing to do is take the possibility off the table. And I think that's what Nick Sirianni did. He was the adult in the room because don't get it twisted. Everybody wanted that record. Sirianni wanted the record. Saquon wanted the record. I know the offensive lineman wanted the record. Everybody wanted Saquon to get that record. To a man. But you got to let cooler heads prevail. Somebody's got to be the adult in the room and say, we got to figure out what's best for the team. And I think Sirianni did that. I think Saquon understands that. Lane Johnson understood it. Everybody on the line understands. Everybody on that team understands it. And like I said before, check out my other video about Terrell Davis. Saquon and the media, they're concentrating on the wrong one. Yes, I know Eric Dickerson is the single regular season rushing leader. But Eric Dickerson didn't sniff a Super Bowl. As great as he was, he didn't sniff a Super Bowl. Terrell Davis is the only 2,000-yard rusher that got a Super Bowl ring. And he was the MVP of that game. That's what I want Saquon to chase. That's the rare air I want to see him in. He's one of two. I mean, you think about all of the years of football, he's one of 9. There's only been 9 2,000-yard rushers. He's already in rare air. Yes, I would like to see him get that record, but I understand why he's not. And I'm good with that. And I'm saying that as a running back. But here's an interesting point. I saw this interview with John Clark and Ray Dinger. Ray Dinger's a Hall of Famer. If you're going to trust somebody's judgment, that's who you want to trust. But listen to what Ray Diddy says.
Certainly seen that to be true. And I do think there's a feeling on the part of the guys on the team that they would love to see him break this record.
Facts.
I think they would really love to see it happen for him.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Him that much. And I'm sure there's a sentiment in that room. Let's go get it. Let's go get it for him. And the coach now has to kind of weigh that feeling in the room about everybody. Let's go out and get this for Saquon.
Right.
Against what I think is the better judgment of, fellas, I think it'd be smarter if we just sit everybody out, don't take any chances, and really think ahead to the playoffs. You know,
that's what you do. That's what the cooler heads prevail. That's what they're thinking about. You're thinking about the big picture. You're thinking about the macro. Now, yes, it is true that anything can happen. He could have got hurt in the Dallas game, could have got hurt in the Washington game. That's always a factor. Hell, look at what happened to, who was that, Greenlaw in the Super Bowl? Just running on the field. Achilles pops. Best defensive player, leader of the team, out. And it affected him. You got to be careful when it comes to that. I know everybody wants to go for it, and you throw caution to the wind and all of that type of stuff. That's one of those situations, it's good until it isn't. You're going at it, everything is great until somebody gets dinged up, nicked up, rolled on, whatever the situation is. And in situations like that, Murphy's Law always seems to show up. So again, you got to take that possibility off the table. So kudos to Nick Sirianni for being the adult in the room and thinking about the big picture. Because I said this again, I said this yesterday, I'm going to say it again today. If something were to happen to any of our starters, let alone Saquon Barkley, Nick Sirianni would have been drawn and quartered. Philadelphia would have skewered him. They would have wanted to pound the flesh from that dude. So that's the smart play, because that's the thing that would happen. Something bad would happen. Somebody would get hurt. We lose whoever. And then immediately everybody does a 180. Nick, you shouldn't have done it. You should have been thinking of the team. You should have been thinking of the main goals. Because all of this selfish talk about I want to see him make it, and I've heard, all of the pundits on the former offensive lineman and everybody on TV saying, yeah, we want to go for it, but if something were to happen and Saquon were to get hurt, or if anybody got hurt, just like last year when AJ went down before the playoffs, everybody's looking at Nick Sirianni like, you should have known better. You should have put him in that situation. And he would get skewered. Philadelphia would kill him. They would roast him to no end, and they would want him fired and everything that comes with that. So again, kudos to Nick Sirianni for being the adult in the room. And everybody's talking about now is Super Bowl or bust. There's more pressure on the Eagles because now he's not getting the record. So the only thing you got is you got to go all the way to the Super Bowl. What the hell you think we've been trying to do? Nothing changes. Not a thing changed. It is always Super Bowl or bust. We got the best record, arguably the best defense in the NFL. Arguably the best team in the NFL. It has always been Super Bowl or bust. Nothing's changed. Not a damn thing has changed. And the same thing, the same parameters exist. It's not if we lose, but if we do take that L, it's going to be how we lose. Were we prepared? Did everybody perform? Did we shoot ourselves in the foot? Was it a bad call by the refs? There's too many things. That's a very nuanced conversation. So, and no, it has nothing to do with because you held Saquon out. Because the bottom line is if Saquon was 100 yards further from the record, nobody would give a damn. Nobody would care. You had a good season with 1,800 yards or 1,900 or whatever it would have been. We got a running back that led the league in rushing. Got 2,000 yards. We've had the best offensive performance for a running back in franchise history. And we got a good opportunity. We have a great opportunity to go far in the playoffs and get back to the Super Bowl. Nobody expected that this year. Nobody expected anything from Saquon Barkley. We knew he was going to be good. Nobody, and I mean nobody, thought he was going to be this good. If they saying it, they lying to you. I knew he was going to be good. I did not have any inclination that he was going to do this. Nobody did. Nobody did. So let's just live in the moment, appreciate what he did, and keep it moving. But I wanted to bring this last tip up, this last point that Ray Dinger made. So check this out.
I was thinking about this a lot last night when we got to this point with Saquon. Is how important is that record versus the importance of winning a championship?
Thanks.
And I remember interviewing O.J. Simpson after his career was over, and talking to him about the highlights of his career, what he accomplished in his career. And O.J. said to me, he said, look, the 2,000 yards, the MVP, the Hall of Fame, all that stuff, I would trade it all for a Super Bowl ring.
That's it in a nutshell. That's it in a nutshell. You're not playing for records. In the years past, if anybody would have done that, you would have called them selfish, prima donna, all of that stuff. You look at all of the shit that was started in the media because everybody thought A.J. Brown was mad because he wasn't getting catches. That's the mindset. And you heard it. And that's not the first time I've heard that. You trade all of that in for a chance to win the Super Bowl. And you go back and you look at all of the greats, and I mean greats. You look at Randall Cunningham. You look at Dan Marino. You look at Warren Moon. You look at all of those quarterbacks that never got to the big game. Never. Randall Cunningham was one of the best quarterbacks out there. Changed the game. Then you had Michael Vick. Then you had Cam Newton. As great as Cam Newton was, another almost. Couldn't come up, got there one time, never went back, and couldn't get the dub. But you gonna tell me Trent Dilfer was better than Cam Newton? Trent Dilfer was better than Randall Cunningham or Warren Moon or Dan Marino? Hell no. Not even close. But Trent Dilfer was at the right place on the right team at the right time. And he got his ring for it. It's not his fault. His defense was one of the best ever. Right place, right team, right time. This right here, this season is our time. And everything's falling in place. Yes, I wanted the record, but I want us to be healthy going into the playoffs more. I want to be healthy more. I want everybody at 100% more than that record. And again, I'm a running back. So you know I want Saquon to get his. But I want Saquon to be healthy. I want Jalen to be healthy. I want Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Jordan Mailata, Mekhi Becton, Slay, Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon, Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, Bill Williams, Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, Bryce Huff. I want everybody healthy. Because if everybody's healthy and we still all looking in the same direction, man, Philadelphia is a problem. And it is a problem nobody wants to solve.